Strengthening Your Body and Life with Fortis Fitness owner Adam Jacobs. Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact, an essential podcast for those who live, work, visit, and play in Carlsbad.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. My name is Bret Schanzenbach. I am the president and CEO of the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce, and I'm your host today. And I'm very pleased to have with me one of my board members, Mr. Adam Jacobs, who is the founder and owner of Fortis Fitness and YOGALUX. Good morning, Adam. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, my pleasure for being here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of business, we have to take a moment to discuss the fact that we're in the middle of the baseball playoff rush, and baseball was actually a big part of your background.
It is. I played collegiately. I was the captain of the team at Cornell University. I played catcher there. Had a couple injuries that derailed my career going forward, but ended up playing professionally in Australia and Hawaii, which was a great experience. I tell a lot of people that you never know where life's going to take you. So as long as you stick with your dreams and your goals, you might end up in a place like Australia for 2 years and meet people that you never thought you would. And so that was great. Baseball's still a big passion of mine, and I love it.
For sure. Our local pro team is tailing off a little bit as we're getting towards the end of the season, but hopefully, there's still a little glimmer of hope here.
There's always hope, and hope is great. It also hurts a little bit more when you have hope. For as disappointing as it is now in the season, I can't remember the last time we actually cared about the scores of the games in September. So, let's think back to a couple years ago where by now we're talking about many other things other than baseball.
We're already looking to the off season or just focused on football or whatever. But no, we're still in it. We haven't been eliminated, but it's definitely an uphill climb here as we get to the last 10 days or so of the season. But I think that experience that you just explained about for you as an athlete, from what I understand, was part of your spark to start your business. Could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I was playing baseball, like I said, and as I was the writing was on the wall that my career was coming to an end. The recovery time was taking a little bit longer. I figured, well, what the heck am I going to do now? And I have a business degree, and so I figured the best thing I could do was to combine my business acumen and my love for athletics and sports and put those together and create a fitness facility that was different than what everyone else has ever done in the industry.
You guys have quite a diversity at your place. So when you say you wanted to create something different, you really, if you look, when I look online and of course I've got to know you the last 3 years, you have all kinds of offerings. So, and I'm just going to chat and have you kind of describe some of these. So for instance, you have an extremely large heated yoga studio. So what's that all about?
Well, like I said, with being an athlete and moving from athlete to real life, I believe in a whole rounded fitness and wellness regimen. And so if you're only doing the same thing over and over, you're not going to get the results. You're not going to have that full experience that you want. So in being a little bit different and what everyone else is doing, we wanted to add in hot yoga, which when we first started about 8 years ago was, the rage.
Yeah.
And so if we can combine that hot yoga with other types of formats, which I'm sure we'll get into, but boot camp classes or other types of physical exercise. Like I said, if you do the same thing over and over, you're going to hit a plateau, you're going to burn out, and you're not going to see the results you want.
Yeah.
So if you can have that well-rounded, whether, mixing in yoga, cycling, running, all of that, it's the way to go.
Yeah, and you just mentioned cycling. You guys have a nice cycling studio as well, and that is a big trend right now. And we'll talk about COVID in a minute, but I know a lot of people have kind of picked up on the Peloton craze and stuff. So tell us a little bit about what you guys do for cycling.
If you think back to the old cycling classes, you think back to the movies or whatever, it was sort of like an 80s instructor teaching some cycling classes with some decent music. Now it's all about the experience. So we have turned the room, totally blacked it out. We have strobe lights, we got party lights. They're in sync to the music. So when you're in there and it's dark, you can't tell if you're at a nightclub or if you're, in a cycle class. And what's great is you're motivated and feel the energy of everyone else around you, but you're not being judged. No one can see what you're doing. It's dark. And, it's just that great energy and that great feel just
Yeah.
makes you work that much harder.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that is such a craze right now. So it's awesome to have it, locally. I also was looking on your site, and there's something, I'm not even exactly sure how to pronounce this, but do you say TRX or is it Trax or something training?
TRX.
TRX,
yes.
okay.
It is a system that uses your own body weight
Yeah.
and a series of straps that hang from an elevated surface. And so you can do almost every exercise with these. They were first invented, I believe, by the military so they
Yeah.
could take them on ships or take them wherever they were.
Makes
you hang
sense.
it to a tree and you can do a full body workout, and you use your own body weight and angles. Like if you want to make it more difficult, you take a few steps back. If you want to make it a little easier, you take a few steps forward. So it really is an accessible workout for anybody, depending where you are. And our whole thing at Fortis is we want it to be the same class. Everyone can take it, and maybe for one person, we can make it a little more challenging. For one person, we can modify it because they have an injury. But you're all doing the same thing, and no one's being singled out, and it's just comfortable and welcoming for everyone.
Yeah, which is great. I know the word injury has come up a few times already, and you mentioned obviously in your own personal career as an athlete that you had some injuries, but it seems like having this diversity is one of the keys in helping people either recover from or to health in a healthy way, exercise and expand themselves without injuring themselves. But either way you look at it, it feels like that experience of injuries has been formative for you in creating all this.
Yes, unfortunately, I had 10 orthopedic surgeries throughout my athletic career.
That's a lot.
Yeah, starting in high school and then all the way through professionals. I have some great pictures I can show you someday. Actually, two of them where I got taken out at the plate being a catcher, guy trying to score. And the year after that, MLB changed the rule. And so my parents are very upset that they took them 1 year too long to do that. But, like I said, I think having a well-rounded exercise and wellness regimen is the way to go, because you have to think long-term. A lot of people, they get into something and they're super excited and they do that for 3 or 4 months and that's all they do. Even cycling, if you cycled every single day, at some point your body's going to break down.
Yeah.
And so, mixing in other types of different formats and different things that you do is the way I believe, and a lot of the research shows, to prevent injury.
Right.
And if you think long term, if you went out right now without having practiced and you ran a half marathon, you can't walk tomorrow.
That's a problem.
And so, maybe you ran 13 miles today, but now you're out for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Instead of maybe today you do 3 miles, which you can handle, then tomorrow you can do a couple more, and tomorrow you can, and if you did it over a 2-week span, you'll actually run more miles than you would have if you did just 13 today.
Yeah.
So taking that long-term approach, and this is the same thing we do with physical fitness, same way we do in business.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. And then I do want to make sure and mention that you guys also offer personal training.
We do. I think a lot of people, group classes are great, but for those, you need that extra motivation, that extra accountability, or even that extra special attention. We do personal training. We do semi-private training. So it's you and a friend and a trainer, and then small groups of 3 to 5 as well.
Yeah.
So again, that's just a great way to take that next step beyond the classes. But again, well-rounded, right? So you could work out with a trainer 2 days a week. And then they say, hey, get your cardio in the other day. So you take a cycle class, get your flexibility and core strength in a yoga class. And so you can come to our facility every day of the week, but do something different.
Nice. COVID was a bit brutal on fitness training gyms and facilities like yours. So talk about that, being shut down, being opened up for outside only, trying to be opened up inside. I mean, that was just crazy. How did you guys navigate it?
First, I have to give a lot of credit to my team for having navigated COVID. We shut down on March 16th. And on March 17th at 9 a.m., we had our first virtual class online.
Wow, that's amazing.
So the fact that we could pivot in 6 hours from having to shut everything down to offer a full schedule from 9 a.m. all the way to the evening and then beyond. And we were offering them free online. We were still paying our employees and our team members as if we were open and operating.
Yeah.
And we did that for almost all of the shutdown.
Yeah.
But offering those classes for free online because we knew people still needed to feel that sense of normalcy.
Right.
Get that hour back to themselves, which we pride ourselves on giving our members in the community, and just helping people like you're stuck at home now. Maybe for that 1 hour you can forget that there's a pandemic going on.
Right.
You can focus on yourself and then re-energize yourself to take care of other people.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, to that point that you were just making, that was so important to people's mental health too, to be able to do some of that kind of stuff, that kind of physical activity, however they did it and how you guys offered it was awesome because it was just a brutal stretch.
It was. And I again, my team handled it like I expected them to because we have great people, but it's always nice to see it, unfortunately, in a situation like that, but to see it manifest itself in that way.
Yeah, that's a pretty quick pivot, man. Within a few hours, you have a full slate of virtual stuff up and running, which is fantastic. I think you guys did at one point offer stuff outside in your parking lot.
We did, yes. Again, credit to my team. We built basically a really, as nice as we could, a facility out in the parking lot. We put turf down. We had tents. A lot of our equipment did get, kind of beat up out in the parking lot. So there's all these things that you don't think about by moving outdoors or changing what you're doing, the wear and tear, things like that. We think we live in San Diego and it's beautiful all the time, but like a 5 o'clock in the morning class in February is pretty cold.
Pretty chilly.
And so, we had to remind people that they needed to bring jackets and, we would warm you up, but like you still need to have a jacket when you get there.
Yeah.
Then conversely, if it was a noon class, it's hot out.
Yeah.
You bring extra water. You need some sunscreen. Luckily, we partnered with one of our local companies here, Kula, and they provided us some sunscreen to give our members because, you got to be healthy.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, there's a lot of little tweaks that we don't really think about because we're so used to our climate-controlled, perfect environments.
Yeah,
and
and we're pretty soft here on the West Coast when it comes to
weather. Yes, we are. I think the term fair weather fan came from this area of the country. I mean, let's just be honest.
I think so. A little drizzle and this whole place shuts down, right?
Yeah, exactly. How is it bouncing back?
Yeah, it's been a tough sledding for sure. I feel for our team. I feel for all the other small business owners in the area.
Yeah.
But I also give a lot of credit to those that figured out a way to get through this and to where we are now. Now I feel like we're in this sort of weird space where we're open fully. We can welcome everybody in, but there's still a pandemic going on, especially with the Delta variant.
Right.
And so I tell a lot of people, if before COVID we had demand at 100, right now demand is only at 50 because rightfully so. There's people who are not ready to go out, even if they're vaccinated.
Sure.
They have kids who aren't vaccinated or they're still being cautious. I am. I know you are. Other people are. And so we're sort of in this weird limbo of we can offer everything, but we don't have the demand that we normally do. And so trying to deal with that and how you still offer your full services and your full schedule in our case, but with limited demand is the issue right now.
Yeah, that is a challenge. And like you said, some people, maybe they have a elderly parent living with them or, some other medically fragile, person. And so, even if they're vaccinated, they're being a bit cautious because they have to.
And rightfully so. And I'm not, and you're not going to be ones being like, well, that's not the way to do it. Like you're like, yeah, absolutely. You should stay home or be careful. So, so we still offer our virtual classes for those that are still either unable to or uncomfortable going out in public, just to be able to offer that to everybody.
And, I've spent some time analyzing numbers in the hospitality industry. Like when do they think that business will be back to like say 2019 levels, and things like that. But I'm just curious as an industry, are there people forecasting when, your industry might be back to the way things were in 2019 pre-pandemic or growth or whatever? I mean, are there stats out there or prognosticators?
There's a lot of different people with different ideas and opinions. I think the fitness industry as a whole was going through a change prior to the pandemic Whereas before, basically, you had either big box gyms offering very inexpensive memberships, and basically they hoped you never showed up.
Yeah.
Because they would sell more memberships than they had room for.
Sure.
And then you had small boutiques like yoga studios or cycling studios or whatever. And so I think people were starting to realize, like, and that's where we came in, sort of in this middle area. And I think that's been the trend of like trying to figure out, okay, there are some people that want that super inexpensive, show up and lift weights whenever you want type of big box gym. And there's others that want that little yoga studio. But like I said, people are more into this well-rounded thing. And so you can't just go to your small yoga studio every single day. You get bored of it. And so that's where we came in. But I think the industry as a whole was sort of shifting from that. Yeah. In addition to at-home workouts, COVID just accelerated that.
Yes.
I mean, you mentioned the Peloton.
Right.
It started beforehand, but then with COVID, I mean, that just exploded.
Took off. Yeah.
And people ask me like, oh, are you worried about, the Peloton and these other at-home workouts? Right. And actually, I say no, because the more people are interested in fitness and health and wellness, the more likely we're all going to do better.
Right.
So you get hooked at home when you feel comfortable. Now you're like, oh, that was fun. I bet it would be more fun to do this with other people in a group. Yeah. And so, engagement in our whole industry is going to bring everybody up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Engagement in one aspect of the industry is going to, it might not immediately, but overall, it's going to help places like yours grow and bounce back. And that's very interesting. So you're on the rebound, things are slowly improving, getting better. And we should also, make a little bit of mention that even with Delta, things are trending in the right direction right now, numbers wise, which is wonderful.
In our area.
Of San Diego and Southern California. So hopefully that continues for all of our sakes.
Yeah, I will say one of the other challenges we're having is hiring.
Yeah.
And not just us, we're not unique in that.
Right. No, it's everywhere.
Everywhere. And it's, in my life, I've never experienced something where you can't find good employees or good people to work for you.
But you guys, you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I want to give it an extra bit of a shout out. You guys really went above and beyond during the lockdown to treat your people that were already on staff, really well and keep them employed and whole, so to speak. And talk about why that was so important to you.
Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah. It was something very important to us. At that time, we had been open 7 years, and many of our team members had been with us since the beginning, or at least for a very long time. And we were fortunate, and I was fortunate as an owner to be in a position where we could be able to do that. I know others couldn't, and no judgment against
of course
what you had to do to survive and keep your business going. But I felt it was my responsibility, and my management team felt it was our responsibility to continue to pay our employees as if we were open and operating in a normal setting with classes going as our full schedule, even though people were at home. And like I said, we were still teaching classes online. Right. It wasn't to the level, the numbers that we were doing those things. And maybe it hit the books a little hard at that point. But like, again, think long term. Right. We have employees still with us that made it all the way through the pandemic and are still with us today. I don't know if other businesses would have been able to do that. So we have that continuity. We have that, built up trust. Like our employees know we're going to take care of you, even in the face of something horrible.
Which is great for retention. Like you mentioned that, bringing in new people right now is a challenge, but how much worse would it be if you hadn't retained those quality people that they already have the knowledge of your system and what you want to do, and so they're still with you. If you'd have lost, say, half of those, and right now be recruiting in addition to what you're trying to recruit, that'd be brutal.
Exactly. Since the beginning, our mantra has always been find good people and keep good people.
Yeah.
And you do that by compensation. You do that by company culture. You do that by different things that you can offer.
Yeah.
And so speaking of fair weather fans, it just started raining.
It just
That's
started
weird.
raining in Carlsbad. It's like, excuse me?
Yeah. But anyway, so you do that by treating your people right.
Yes.
And that's how you keep your good people, because turnover is expensive.
It is. It is.
And your customers feel it. If you're always turning over people, they're like, well, what's going on here? Like, why are people changing and leaving?
Right.
If they see the same friendly faces all the time, they're like, okay, like they want to be here. It makes me want to be here.
I think that what you just said is true in any industry, but in a business like yours, where the day-to-day interaction between your team and your clients is so tangible, they see turnover there, it's going to be like, oh, what happened to Susie or Joe? I really loved, interacting with them. And then what happened to Steve from last month? Yeah, it can be really bad.
It can, and in our industry specifically, like not just trainers and instructors, but also the front desk. That's the people they meet with every day. So
exactly.
It's the whole team.
Yeah. You're in a highly relational business, and you're creating that Cheers experience. People want to come someplace where they're known, and they feel that kind of comfort, and they walk in and they're known by name.
We pride ourselves on that.
Yeah.
By the time you've come 2 or 3 times, we know your name.
Yeah.
We know what kind of towels you want.
Yeah.
How many.
Yeah.
What your kids' names are. What they're up to.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do, and a lot of credit to our front desk team for learning and committing to doing that.
Yeah.
But it really makes all the difference.
You just mentioned kids. I know you guys have a cool thing there at the gym to help moms or families or parents who want to come work out. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah, so when we were first opening, we were like, okay, what can set us apart even further from everyone else in the industry? Childcare.
Okay.
And in the location we're at in Bresci Ranch, 10 years ago when we bought our building, it was exploding. It still is, with young families who had 2 to 3 kids and nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And so we added childcare into our business plan before we opened, and man, did it take off.
Nice.
And it's so interesting. Yeah, we're helping people get healthy and work out and whatever, but we realize what we're doing is we're giving these parents an hour back to themselves.
Yeah.
We had people come in, drop their kids off in childcare, and just go take a shower in our locker rooms. And mind you, our showers and our locker rooms are very nice.
Sure.
But, they come out and they're just like, we had some people crying, like, thank you so much. I haven't showered by myself, and had that moment.
Yes.
It's so long. Like, thank you for offering this.
Yes.
And,
That's
it's just
awesome.
things like that. And we've had other amazing stories. We've had one family whose daughter was diagnosed with diabetes and at a young age, and got a guide dog who super amazing, because this dog could smell the blood sugar drop in the child.
Yes.
And would notice it before her monitor would notice it.
Wow.
Like, incredible. But while they were trying to figure all this out, the mom who had loved yoga and that was her thing couldn't do it because she had to literally watch her daughter all the
Constantly,
time. Once they got the dog, and she said, can I bring the dog in to the gym with my daughter? And we were able to do that. And she came down like crying, so happy. Like, it's been years since I've been able to do yoga. And just knowing that my daughter is safe and you guys have an eye on her and the dog and everything, like, that's what it's all about.
What a great story. Yeah, that's an awesome story. We can't wrap up without mentioning, you've had some cool advances in your personal life, got married recently, and you and your wife are expecting your first pretty soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, yesterday was our 20-week mark, so halfway
awesome.
through.
Congrats.
Yes, a baby girl coming in February, which is
so fun.
So exciting. It'll be the first grandchild from my parents.
Oh, awesome.
And the first great-grandchild from my grandparents.
Nice.
So very exciting to continue to carry on the generations and the traditions. And, we've been very fortunate. My family's very, very well known here.
Yeah.
So
that's
a
great.
lot of pressure to live up to, but we use it as a challenge in a way to be better every day.
That's great. As a new grandparent myself, I can tell you how exciting that is. We have our grandson is 10 months old, and then we have our second grandchild on the way ourselves.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Right around Christmas time.
Yes.
So we're super excited about that. But
yes. My parents and Amy's parents are expectedly ecstatic.
Over the moon, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, that's so great. And it's wonderful you guys have your family fairly local. Is Amy's family fairly local too?
Amy's from Canada, actually. So
Oh.
her family's in Edmonton.
Oh, okay. Not
so
local.
Not local. But previously and before COVID, they would come and visit for a couple weeks at a time.
Sure.
I expect that length of stay to become a little bit longer now that
Sure.
we have a child that they'll want to hang out with.
Sure, yeah.
But we'll actually be heading back there hopefully in the next couple weeks to see them. And
awesome. Well, I wanted to thank you for taking the time to come and chat with us and, share your story and talk about all that you guys do. Really appreciate it. And I should also take a little mention that you help with our young professionals group here at the Chamber, which is a thriving group of professionals that does very, I would call it active networking, and does a lot of fun stuff in addition to networking. And I don't know if you wanted to give a little shout out to that group.
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe the best way to grow as a leader in your community is to create a cohort of other like-minded individuals in your community that are going to be the future leaders.
Yeah.
And so being able to do that through the Carlsbad Young Professionals Group, and thanks to the Chamber for allowing us to do that, is one way that we can create this cohort.
Yeah.
Because we're all going to be the ones, hopefully in leadership positions and roles going forward. And if we establish those relationships now on a personal level, sky's the limit.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Adam, for taking the time. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us on our Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact podcast today. If you enjoyed it, please hit the follow button on wherever you get your audio, and please tell a friend. We would love to hear your feedback, which you can share at carlsbadpodcast.com. You can leave us a review, ask a question, or leave an audio comment, which we can play on the show in the future. And that's all we have for today. Can't wait to see you next time on Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact. And remember, share some kindness today. It's free, creates goodwill, and makes you feel great.